Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Jason's off tonight. We Energies is seeking the approval from the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin to ensure the tech companies bringing data center projects to the state pay for their own energy production. The Citizens Utility Board also asking for the public to weigh in. New at 10, Drew Best shares more details about the proposal.
Conversations continue regarding who could foot the bill for the energy infrastructure of data centers. Tom Content with the Citizens Utility Board among those advocating for the tech companies who are building the data centers to pay for their own energy.
Electricity bills are a big driver of inflation already, and affordability is a top tier issue for politicians. And so getting this right is really important.
We Energies is also pushing to establish a new rate structure for large data centers. A pair of rate changes would reflect the true cost of serving energy-intensive customers like data centers and ensure the power they use is built for them as a condition of service. A statement from their parent company reads in part, quote, "Our proposal is fair, transparent, and includes strong safeguards, including signed legal agreements to ensure data centers, not our customers, pay for the infrastructure required to support their operations," end quote. The Wisconsin Data Center Coalition stands in opposition, saying a new study indicates data centers do not drive up energy rates. A statement from its executive director reads in part, quote, "The idea that data centers must lead to higher bills for Wisconsin families is a fallacy that the data simply does not support. By bringing in large numbers who pay for their own infrastructure and contribute to shared system costs, we can actually help maintain a more stable and affordable grid for everyone," end quote. Content says the Citizens Utility Board is not against data centers entirely. They just hope the projects are properly regulated.
Power plants are paid off over decades. And big data centers, tech companies, their business plans could change. So we don't want customers on the hook for billions of dollars of new power plants that turn out not to be needed by the tech companies.
We Energies customers have until Tuesday, February 17th to submit comments to the PSC if they feel the tech companies looking to build data centers need to take on the cost of its energy. I'm Drew Best for Action 2 News.